I knew she wasn't sleeping the moment her fingers tightened around my sleeve when the train lurched. But what she whispered after opening her eyes made me forget every plan I had for that evening. "Please, don't move away. You're the first person all day who made me feel safe." At that moment, I had no idea that the stranger leaning against my shoulder was carrying a secret heavy enough to change both our lives forever. Some people enter our lives without warning, stay for only a few hours, and somehow leave footprints on our hearts that never disappear. We often believe the biggest moments begin with grand gestures, but sometimes they begin with something as ordinary as sharing a train seat with a stranger. This story is about loneliness, unexpected kindness, and how one quiet decision can become the beginning of a completely different future. If you've ever wondered whether small acts of compassion truly matter, stay with me until the end, because this journey proves they do in ways neither of us could have imagined. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this, make sure to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness, hope, and humanity. The evening commuter train was packed tighter than usual. Every seat had been taken long before I climbed aboard, but an elderly gentleman noticed the tired look on my face and offered me the empty place beside him before leaving at the next station. I thanked him, settled into the window seat, and watched raindrops race each other across the glass. Outside, the city blurred into streaks of gray and gold as office workers hurried through another wet evening. At the following stop, the door slid open and a young woman stepped inside, breathing heavily as though she had been running. She scanned the crowded carriage with worried eyes before noticing the empty seat beside me. "May I?" she asked politely. "Of course," I replied, moving my backpack onto my lap. She smiled with quiet gratitude and sat down. Her chestnut hair was still damp from the rain, and she held a faded canvas tote bag close to her chest. She looked elegant without trying, yet there was something unmistakably weary about her expression, as if she hadn't truly rested in days. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. The rhythmic sound of the train filled the silence. She glanced out the window, sighed softly, and closed her eyes. A few moments later, her head slowly drifted sideways until it rested gently against my shoulder. I instinctively stiffened. People nearby looked over and smiled, assuming we were together. One teenage boy even nudged his friend and whispered something that made them both grin. Embarrassed, I considered moving away. Then I noticed the dark circles beneath her eyes. She wasn't pretending to be tired. Or so I believed. The train continued through station after station while rain tapped softly against the windows. Every so often the carriage shook, yet she never startled awake. There was something strangely peaceful about the moment. I couldn't explain why, but instead of feeling uncomfortable, I felt responsible for protecting the quiet she seemed to have found. Nearly 40 minutes passed. The automated voice announced my station. I took a slow breath. "Excuse me," I whispered gently. Before I could finish, she lifted her head immediately. Her eyes opened without the confusion of someone waking from sleep. She smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry. You weren't asleep." She looked down for a second before meeting my eyes again. "No." I stared at her, completely puzzled. "I've been awake the whole time." "Then, why?" She hesitated. "I know this sounds strange. It probably does. I just needed to believe there was still someone in the world who wouldn't push me away." Those words erased every trace of confusion. Her voice wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rehearsed. It sounded painfully honest. "I noticed you when I boarded," she continued. "Everyone else was busy staring at their phones or looked irritated that the train was crowded. You look calm." "I was just tired." "Sometimes tired people are the kindest." I let out a small laugh. "I've never heard that before. My father used to say it." The mention of her father changed something in her expression. Her smile faded almost instantly. "He passed away last winter." "I'm sorry." "He was the only person who always made me feel safe." The train slowed again. The doors opened. My station. I didn't move. She noticed. "Wasn't this your stop?" "It was." "You'll be late." "I guess I already am." For the first time since sitting beside me, she laughed, a genuine laugh that briefly pushed away the sadness in her eyes. I'm Olivia, she said. I'm Ethan. The train pulled away from the platform, carrying us toward a destination neither of us had planned. Outside, darkness settled over the city while reflections of the passengers shimmered across the windows. Olivia reached into her tote bag and removed an old notebook. Inside the front cover, written in fading blue ink, were the words, "Never let fear convince you that kindness no longer exists." My dad wrote that, she said quietly. He sounds wise. He believed strangers could become family. And you? I stopped believing after he died. She paused.